Take a deep breath before starting this story. It was autumn in Manhattan, when my world began to silently fall apart. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, and I work as the editor-in-chief at one of the biggest magazines in New York. James, my husband of 8 years, was where I thought he was everything one could wish for in a partner, tall, successful as a cardiac surgeon at Presbyterian Hospital, and with that smile that still made my heart race even after all these years. Together, our apartment on the Upper East Side was a reflection of what I believed to be a perfect life: photos of happy moments on the walls, a breathtaking view of Central Park, and that feeling of home that we had built together over the years. We had our routine. Breakfast together every morning, affectionate messages throughout the day, romantic dinners on Friday nights, but you know that chill down your spine, that intuition, whispering that something is wrong, even when everything seems perfect on the surface. It was in September 2024 that I noticed the first signs, small, almost imperceptible. James started locking his phone, something he had never done before. It's hospital policy, he explained with a natural ease that I now realize was rehearsed, I believed. Him, of course, why wouldn't I? Then came the subtle change, as the different perfume. I sometimes smelled on his shirt so faint it made me question my own sanity, the emergency. Meetings that became more frequent, the way he stepped away to take certain calls. The worst part wasn't the growing suspicion. The worst part was doubting myself, feeling paranoid, guilty for mistrusting someone I loved so deeply. Every night he came home late, every message he hid, every kiss that felt more distant. Each one was like a tiny needle piercing my heart one by one. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that feeling of doubt eating away at your chest. I remember perfectly the night I realized I wasn't crazy. It was a rainy Tuesday, and James had forgotten his Apple Watch on the nightstand. A notification flashed on the screen. I can't wait to see you today. I miss your touch. The sender initials I had never seen before. At that moment, I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. You know that feeling. When all the air is sucked from your lungs, that's exactly how it felt. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. What happened next? Well, it changed my life completely in ways I could never have imagined. Take a deep breath once more, because what comes next is even more intense. The days that followed my discovery of the message on the Apple Watch were a torturous exercise in self-control. Every fiber of my being screamed to confront James. But years of experience as an editor had taught me that sometimes silence reveals more than 1,000 words. I decided to observe, to gather evidence, not for revenge, but because I needed to understand the extent of the lie I was living. It was like watching an accident, in slow motion, knowing the impact was inevitable, but being unable to look away. Nights became an emotional minefield, while James slept peacefully beside me. I lay awake, replaying every moment from the past few months, searching for signs. I had overlooked the different perfume on his shirts, which I now knew was Chanel No. 5, a scent I had never worn, began appearing more frequently. The emergency surgeries always seemed to happen on Wednesdays and Friday with an almost mathematical regularity that no real emergency would have feel the weight of those sleepless nights when your thoughts become your worst enemies. During one of those sleepless nights, I started noticing patterns in his behavior that had previously gone unnoticed. James had changed his gym routine, now attending a facility farther from home near the hospital, claiming it was more convenient. His wardrobe had subtly shifted as well. More fitted shirts, a new Rolex watch he said was a gift from a grateful patient. Since when did hospitals allow such expensive gifts? A stronger cologne replacing his usual Aquad Joe. The hardest part was keeping up appearances in our social circle at dinners with friends. I smiled and held his hand across the table, playing the role of the happy wife while I was breaking inside. Our friend, who also worked at Presbyterian, started acting strangely around me. Her glances carried a mix of pity and guilt that only fueled my suspicions. Did everyone know except me? Have you ever felt like you were the last person to know something that everyone else already did? Things escalated when I started noticing changes in our apartment. Small details only a wife would catch. His side of the bed sometimes carried a faint scent of unfamiliar soap, as if he had showered somewhere else. His drawers, once chaotically messy like any other man's, were now meticulously organized. Someone was teaching my husband new habits. One particularly painful afternoon, while organizing our shared closet, I found a receipt from a boutique hotel in Greenwich Village dated 2 weeks prior, on a night he had been on call. The 60 Soho, known for its discretion and romantic atmosphere. My stomach twisted at the thought of James taking another woman to a place that had once been the backdrop for one of our own romantic getaways years ago. Imagine the bitter taste of betrayal mixing with sweet memories of the past. The most devastating discovery came through Rachel, my assistant at the magazine. Completely unaware of everything, she casually mentioned seeing James At an intimate restaurant in the West Village, he looked so handsome, she said, in that blonde. Dr. Tu. My heart stopped. Rachel continued obliviously. I thought you were there, too, but you must have arrived later. I swallowed hard, kept my smile intact, and changed the subject while my world collapsed all over again. From the Apple Watch began taking shape in my mind. A quick search on the hospital's website revealed that an Amanda Morrison had joined the cardiology team 6 months ago. Blonde 29. Harvard graduate, her professional profile photo displayed. An angelic face that now haunted my nightmares. The worst part wasn't just the betrayal itself, but how it was destroying my self-esteem, my confidence, and my ability to trust. I started questioning everything had I not been attentive. Enough had my dedication to my career pushed James away. Had those nights I worked, late at the magazine, been the invitation he needed to seek comfort in someone else's? Arms feel the weight of self-blame, that inner voice that makes us question every decision. The evidence piled up like pieces of a macabre puzzle I didn't want to complete, but couldn't avoid each new discovery. It was like a dagger to my chest, twisting slowly the James. I knew the man who had promised me eternal love at the altar of St. Patrick's Cathedral, who held my hand through storms, who knew exactly how I liked my coffee, was turning into a stranger before my eyes. Prepare your heart for what comes next. Fate has a peculiar sense of humor, and it chose an otherwise ordinary day to turn my world upside down. It was a freezing Thursday in October, and I had decided to leave work early, something rare in my routine. The Manhattan sky was heavy, foreshadowing a storm, as if nature itself was in tune with the turmoil about to explode in my life. I drove my Audi Q5 through the city's busy streets, intending to surprise James. At his office, it wasn't something I usually did, but something inside me, that same intuition that had been warning me for months, pushed me in that direction. The Presbyterian hospital stood tall against the dark sky, its illuminated windows like thousands of eyes watching my arrival. Feel the awe and tension, as if each heartbeat is counting down the seconds to an inevitable revelation. In the elevator, I pressed the button for the 12th floor cardiology department. My hands trembled slightly as I held a bag. From Lear James's favorite restaurant. It was our wedding anniversary, 8 years. Since we had said I do, he hadn't mentioned it that morning, and I wanted to see his reaction when he remembered, or maybe deep down, I just needed an excuse to confront what I already knew. The department was quiet, except for the soft hum of medical equipment and the occasional ringing of the reception phone. The secretary, a kind woman named Dorothy, who had known me for years, visibly paled when she saw me. Sarah, Dr. Mitchell is in an important consultation. He can't be interrupted. Her words came out hesitant, her eyes avoiding mine. Another person who knew. Have you ever felt the weight of silence? When everyone around you is keeping a secret that hurts you. I ignored her protests and walked down the familiar hallway toward James's office. The sound of my Chris and Luda heels echoed against the white walls, each step bringing me closer to a truth I both feared and longed to uncover. His office door was closed but not locked. Through the frosted glass, I could see 2 silhouettes standing close together. Our parents' choices can shape generations to come. The magazine is still an important part of my life, but in a different way. Now I launched a monthly column called Uncomfortable Truths, where we explored not just medical fraud but also stories within the health care system. Every article is a small victory against the system that nearly destroyed me. My story became a bestseller. Subtle Signs stayed on the New York Times list. For 28 weeks, the film rights were purchased by a major studio, and production is set to begin. Soon I insisted that part of the profits go toward a fund for victims of medical fraud and women rebuilding their lives after trauma. Observe how our pain can become a source of healing for others. The most surprising twist: life keeps finding ways to surprise us. Last week, during a routine pregnancy checkup, we discovered something extraordinary. I'm expecting twins, a boy and a girl. Michael and I have already chosen their names Hope and Injustice, not because they sound poetic in English, but because they represent exactly what our story stands for. Hope and justice. The scar of betrayal never fully fades, but I've learned that some wounds don't just make us stronger, they make us wiser and more compassionate. Every morning when I wake up beside Michael, I feel gratitude, not for the pain I endured, but for the woman I became because of it. Take one last deep breath and feel the power of your own ability to be reborn. And so, my story doesn't end with a traditional happily ever after, but with something far more valuable: the certainty that our ability to start over is infinite, and that sometimes we must walk through hell to find our true purpose. Today, when I look in the mirror, I no longer see the broken woman from that night at the Met. I see a Soror, a warrior, a woman who turned her pain into purpose, and maybe that is the greatest revenge of all. Not just surviving, but thriving. Wow, what an intense journey. Right, Sarah's story takes us through a whirlwind of emotions, from betrayal to redemption, from pain to rebirth. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were in Sarah's shoes, what would you have done differently? Or better yet, how do you think you would react upon discovering such a deep and complex betrayal? Take a moment to reflect. Would you have the courage to expose everything publicly, as she did, or would you prefer to handle the situation in a more private way? And what about Sarah's personal transformation from victim to activist and agent of change? Have you ever been through an experience that completely changed the course of your life? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Your story might inspire and help someone else going through a difficult time. Don't forget to hit that like button if this story resonated with you, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one. See you next time. Everyone, remember, sometimes our greatest pain can become our greatest strength. Stay strong and keep moving forward.